Welcome to Inspiration in Action Television, where you'll meet people who will inspire you to bring your dreams to life. Our guest today is Keon. When I first heard about Julie, she was a doula working with moms who were birthing babies. And I used to work with her husband, Tim, and would hear about Julie. Really admired what you did. Also, you did cast art of
Yes.
pregnant bellies and did paintings on them and things like that. So, but now you've moved into life celebration, marriages, funeral ceremonies. Talk about your journey to get to that.
Well, I started out as a social worker a long time ago and discovered doula work in 1998 in Victoria, BC, and I became trained, and it was my passion. I loved being up for 22 hours helping women through labor or longer. When I became pregnant, I planned to continue being a doula, but then when our daughter was born, she ran into some problems at birth, which resulted in a brain injury. And so I had to put my career on hold for a few years. When I decided to start working again, I decided to share what I had learned as a doula with new parents. And so expectant parents, and I started teaching prenatal classes. And I do breastfeeding workshops for women who've had traumatic births. I'm casting still, but I'm retiring in September from casting after 15 years. And last summer I had the opportunity to become a marriage officiant for the province of Ontario. And wasn't in my plans, but I look at those things as opportunities. So although I was a bit nervous, I thought, no, this is being handed to me, so I took it up and love it. This summer I've performed 30 marriages. Yes. And last year at a marriage, a man came up to me who worked for a funeral home and asked if I would do funeral ceremonies. And I decided to enroll in an 8-month training program, the only one in North America. And I graduated as a life cycle celebrant, specializing in funeral and memorials.
What is it about these intimate moments in people's lives? Because each one of them, the birthing, the marriages, the funeral services, are so intimate emotionally.
I'm drawn to it, but I also, it comes very naturally to me. And I think part of that, growing up in the home that I grew up in, we were in a small town. My mom took us to the wakes and funerals always. My sisters and I would sing at funerals, we'd sing at marriages. I was performing marriages with my stuffed animals as a child. We were burying our animals in the backyard, performing funerals. Part of probably my Irish Catholic upbringing. The ceremonies I do today are, they're non-religious. We can add spirituality if somebody wants that, but it's serving the population that maybe doesn't identify with a religion or doesn't belong to a church and still has a need, as we all do, to mark life's big transitions. And I'm very comfortable in those environments. So
you are the most amazing woman. When you hear about the next part of Julie's story, and there are a few more chapters to discuss, Julie was the kind of person growing up who, she tells me, wasn't really maternally inclined, didn't think she would have children, and then she met Tim, and you had your baby girl, Meredith.
yes.
Talk about that. Talk about Meredith. Tell us a little about her.
Well, I didn't think I would be a good mother. And so when I was pregnant, I had a lot of worries about whether or not I would be a good mother, because I didn't really think about becoming a mother when I was growing up. And my husband wanted children, and I kind of put it off for quite a while. And then one day I just got this urge, I guess this biological urge, to have a child. And when Meredith was born, after a normal pregnancy, normal labor and birth, she aspirated at the time of birth, resulting in a massive brain injury. And it totally turned our world upside down. It was nothing that I had ever expected. I mean, I was worried about having postpartum depression. That was my big fear. And we spent the first 10 weeks of her life at CHIO in the NICU and then on one of the floors. And we have a child who is one of the most complex children, especially in Renfrew County where we live. And she's tube fed, she requires 24-hour care. She has, her life expectancy was 7 or 8, I suppose. And now she's turning 10 in December. So we celebrate each day we have with her. She is our only child. So we have, we live a different reality than most people.
Meredith is really a gift to you, and in you telling her story, a gift to us as well. And you started to write about your experience with Meredith And there's going to be a book. So talk about that. What's it called?
Well, I wrote an essay 2 years ago called What I Would Tell You, and that was a result of, I wasn't planning to write a book at that point, but I saw a woman at Keon, a mother, and she was holding a baby. And our eyes met when I was walking by her with my daughter over my shoulder, and she was arching and doing her thing. And there was this moment where we looked at each other, and I think with my eyes was wanting to say to her, you're going to be okay. Because the baby she was holding reminded me of Meredith. And I remember being a new mom at Keon, going in for appointments and seeing mothers of older children that had brain injuries and being so overwhelmed and thinking, how are we going to do this? And when I walked out of the hospital that day, this essay, these words started to come into my head, and I wrote them down, and this essay went viral once it was put up on the internet. The internet is a wonderful thing. And so I started a blog, and I guess it'll be 2 years in December that I started writing the book, which will be called What I Would Tell You.
And it's all about what you would tell us about your experience with your daughter.
And new mothers, because when Meredith was born, there was nothing. There was nothing there was the odd book, Raising Your Child with Cerebral Palsy, and there was one called You Will Dream New Dreams, but there was nothing that really got down to the nitty-gritty, and especially focused on children that have medical fragility, which is, we are pioneer parents, because 20 years ago, children like Meredith didn't survive their births. So we are like the pioneers, and they should study us because our children are surviving longer than they expect them to, but that also means as parents we have to survive for this parenting journey as well.
Yeah. So. Well, you've sure added some really amazing dimensions to your life and to our lives too by helping us to celebrate with you. So thank you. We'll look forward to the book, and thanks for coming by today.
Thanks for having me.